You tell people to stay fraught and like this.
We were talking to Latinos who are also frustrated about the border. What they wanted is, control of the border. They don't want to see the chaos of the border.
How does that impact your vision of the American dream?
Yeah.
Well, number one is believing in the American dream.
And a panic.
What happens when one of the most liberal talk shows on television invites a Democrat senator onto their stage, and he doesn't play along with their narrative? You get complete chaos. The ladies of The View thought they'd have an easy discussion about immigration, the economy, and identity politics. But instead, they were blindsided by Senator Ruben Gallego, who dismantled their worldview piece by piece on live television. From calling out the economy's failures to exposing the border crisis in ways they didn't expect, Gallego didn't hold back. And let's just say, the reactions from Whoopi, Sunny, and the rest of the panel, pure disbelief. You're not going to want to miss this. Let's dive in. The View has made a habit of inviting guests who they expect will echo their talking points. But every now and then, they get more than they bargained for. Enter Senator Ruben Gallego, a Democrat, a Latino, a military veteran, the perfect guest for their identity politics narrative. Or so they thought. What they didn't realize was that Gallego wasn't there to play games. He was there to tell the truth. From the moment he started speaking, it was clear. This wasn't going to go the way The View planned. The first question seemed harmless enough. The hosts asked Gallego about his upbringing as the son of immigrants and how it shaped his vision of the American dream. They were hoping for a story about systemic oppression and victimhood. But Gallego's answer completely shattered their expectations.
You're the son, as we've mentioned, of Colombian and Mexican immigrants. You served in the armed forces after attending Harvard University to give back to this country. And you've indicated that the Biden administration wasn't meeting the needs of border states. And this weekend, Trump laid out his mass deportation plan on Meet the Press. Do you think Trump will be able to do what he says he's going to do? And what do you think really needs to be done to address the issue?
Number one is believing in the American dream. He began. When you're poor and have nothing, the biggest currency you need is hope. My family instilled that hope in me every day. He spoke about hard work, determination, and the belief that if you work hard enough, you can succeed. The panel was stunned. This wasn't the narrative they wanted. Sunny Hostin, who has built her brand on victimhood politics, looked visibly uncomfortable. The concept of minorities rejecting victimhood seemed almost alien to her. Next, Sunny tried to steer the conversation back to safer territory. Immigration. Surely, she thought, a Latino senator would agree with The View's open border stance. But once again, Gallego flipped the script. When asked about Trump's mass deportation plans and Biden's handling of the border, Gallego dropped a truth bomb. From my experience, talking to people in Arizona, including border sheriffs and mayors, they don't want chaos at the border. They want control. We have a broken immigration system, and it's causing frustration in our communities. Sunny didn't know what to say.
So from my experience and talking to people in Arizona, the only swing border state, and talking to our border mayors, and also talking to border sheriffs, police, nonprofits, everything else, what they wanted is control of the border. They don't want to see the chaos of the border. We have a broken immigration system, and I think recognizing that.
For years, The View has painted border control as racist and inhumane. But here was a Latino Democrat telling them that even Hispanic communities want stricter immigration policies. And when Gallego pointed out that border chaos impacts everyone, not just one group, the tension on the panel was palpable. Then came the knockout punch. Biden's economy. Gallego didn't sugarcoat it. He revealed that voters in his state are struggling. They're working harder than ever, but still can't make ends meet. One of the hardest things to hear, he said, is people saying, I'm working so hard, and I don't think I'm going to make it. And worse, I don't think my kids will be better off than me. For a panel made up of multimillionaires, this was clearly uncomfortable. But it was the truth. The economy isn't working for most Americans, and Gallego didn't shy away from saying it.
One of the things that I saw that was probably the hardest thing to hear was people saying and feeling like, I'm working so hard and I don't think I'm gonna make it. And then the worst thing to hear after that is, I don't think my kids are actually gonna be better off than I. And for us that are parents, and I'm lucky to have 2 kids, that's the worst thing, because we're willing to sacrifice whatever we can for our children, right? And we'll take the personal hits. My mom took the personal hits, working the hard jobs. So my big Latino family, which is like, you can do this, right? If you keep your nose clean, work hard, you're going to accomplish this. And every day it was hard. It was hard working those after-school jobs. And I was lucky to have teachers and family that were also very supportive, but it was all worth it. And I thought about it back in the day at the age of 14, 15, that if I work hard, I'm gonna succeed. Having to sacrifice a lot, but she knew that her kids would be better off in the future.
Yeah.
And when you're hearing it on the campaign trail, they just don't think it's gonna happen. That's when you know that there's something really wrong in what's happening right now.
Whoopi Goldberg looked ready to jump in and defend Biden. But even she seemed unsure how to spin this one. One of the most awkward moments came when Sunny asked Gallego why Latino voters are shifting toward the Republican Party. Her assumption? Racism and sexism were to blame.
We talk about Latino males. The reason I was able to kind of understand what's happening there was because, growing up Latino and working those work sites and working overtime just to help out my family, I understood the frustration I was hearing out in the community. And we were focused right away on the cost of everything, groceries, rent. But even, being out there and talking to not just my Republican friends, we were talking to Latinos who are also frustrated about the border. And we started talking about how, something's going on at the border that's different from what people have experienced in the past, and we need to actually focus on this and talk about solutions.
But Gallego wasn't having it. It's not about racism or sexism, he explained. It's about the economy, the border, and people feeling like they're not being heard. They want solutions, not identity politics. Sunny looked stunned. For years, The View has built its brand on blaming every issue on sexism, racism, or both. But here was a Latino senator saying that voters, especially minorities, don't care about those narratives. They care about real issues like jobs, safety, and opportunity. As the conversation continued, the tension on the panel reached a breaking point. Ana Navarro, desperate to regain control, launched into a rant about how everyone should be in panic mode over the state of the country. If you're an immigrant, you should be panicking. If you're a woman, you should be panicking. Winter is coming, Ana shouted.
First of all, thank God for Liz Cheney. Yes. Yesterday, she put out a very strong statement condemning what Donald Trump had said. And I kind of felt like, like that song. It's like our nation turns its lonely eyes to you, because she's not trekking to Mar-a-Lago to kiss the ring. She's not going into, deep hiding and in silence. She's not changing her tune all of a sudden. She's sticking by her guns. She is a principled person with a backbone and courage. And if he goes after her, she's going to fight back. And it is going to be our job to protect her, to support her, to donate to a legal fund, to make sure that there are lawyers ready to defend her, because it costs a lot of money, because it is very stressful and very drainful, even if there is no crime. Yeah. Being investigated by the federal government is a big deal.
But Whoopi wasn't having it. She interrupted Ana, telling her to calm down and stop fear-mongering. Alyssa Farah Griffin sided with Whoopi, and suddenly, the panel was at each other's throats.
But if you're an illegal immigrant in this country, you're not going to be not in a panic. If you are a woman working for the Department of Defense, you have a right to be in a panic.
You tell people to stay fraught and like this.
I'm telling people to prepare, Whoopi. I'm telling people to prepare.
They are prepared.
Well, right. So that means
I'm saying
that
to
means
people,
that they can be relaxing and enjoying Christmas.
No, it doesn't mean that.
When winter is coming.
No, it does. You know what? I'm sorry.
I mean, I disagree.
Winter is here.
Right.
Winter's been with us, and my point is we can lay down and do nothing for the next 15 days and then be freaking out for the next 4 or 2 years.
But my point to you is
but
we
my
are
point,
in a privileged position that a lot of people who are going to be under his attack
who is
are not.
going through the same thing.
I want his enemies listening. I'm not panicking.
Yeah.
Like, we just have to
we
live.
We have to figure out what we're panicking for.
Gallego, meanwhile, sat back and watched the meltdown he had inadvertently caused. This isn't the first time The View has tried to use a guest to push their agenda, only to have it backfire spectacularly. From Stephen A. Smith to Charlemagne Thagard, They've learned the hard way that not everyone buys into their divisive narratives. Gallego's appearance was a masterclass in exposing the disconnect between the View's elite panel and the struggles of everyday Americans. It showed that even Democrats are fed up with the status quo. What makes this moment so powerful isn't just that Gallego spoke the truth. It's that he did it on a platform built on avoiding it. The View prides itself on being the voice of liberal America. But moments like this reveal just how out of touch they are. Gallego didn't just challenge their narrative, he dismantled it. And in doing so, he reminded everyone watching that real change doesn't come from identity politics. It comes from addressing real issues head-on.